Okay, so I'm going to help you out with the CAPM 3-factor and 4-factor regression models. Very easy. First things first, let's go to, let me make sure I didn't mute that. Hello. Okay, good. I didn't mute it. Sorry. Okay, so first things first, let's go to Yahoo Finance. Right here. And then you're going to go up here to the search bar and put in your company stock code, which he would have put that into the document where he said what company yours is. So mine is SHW for Sherwin-Williams. Come on, populate. There we go. Select that. Okay. Now, once it comes out, we're going to select historical data. All right. Now we see the time period, historical prices, and daily or the frequency. Make sure your frequency says daily. So over here in the time period, we need to change this to the time period he's saying, which is May 1st of 1995 to August 30th, 2019. Okay, hit done. It's going to populate. Give it a second. Oh, I'm sorry. You got to hit apply. Apparently, I'm not with it tonight. I apologize. So hit apply. Then it's going to populate. There we go. And then we're going to hit download data. Okay. We're going to pull this up down here. And it's going to open its Excel file. Okay. So we've got our date. We got open, high, low, close, and adjusted, close, and volume. We do not need anything except for the date and the adjusted close. So I'm going to highlight B, C, D, and E columns. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to highlight column C, and I'm going to delete that. Now we're going to adjust this so that it has the dates on the newest date on top instead of the oldest date. So August 30th will be on top. So I highlighted A and B, go to the data tab, and select this button here that says Z to A, which is sort newest to oldest. And voila. Up here, we're going to change adjusted close to our company stock code, because that's the prices that that we need. Okay. So now we need the return value. So the next column, column C, we're going to do SHWR for the company code's return. How we find the return value for every day is we're going to do a formula. So equal, do the stock price today, or the newest stock price, minus the oldest stock price. I'm sorry, I need to put that in parentheses. Okay, so parentheses, newest stock price minus the oldest stock price. Divide that by the older stock price. Okay, now it's only 1 day older, not 2 days, not 3 days, not all the way to the end. It's only the next and the previous days. And then you're going to hit enter, and it's going to give me my return. So I'm going to copy that all the way down to the last return date that we have. So I'm going to move my cursor till it has the crosshairs, double click, and there we go. So I'm going to hit Control End, and it's got the very last value here. It doesn't have a value in there because there's nothing the previous day to subtract it or divide it by. So it's divided by 0, which cannot be done, obviously. Okay, and later on, we're going to not use that value at all. We just can't delete it. Otherwise, the previous one will have the same issue, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's hit Control Home. And let's go back into our internet. We're going to go to kennethfrench.com. okay? And we're going to go to data library here. And this is we don't need to worry about all this top part here. Next up, we need to go to these downloadable files. This first set here, FAMA French 3 factors, is what we need. We need the daily one. So let's go to CSV, select that. It's going to have a file populate down here. We're going to select that zip file. And we're going to double click on that Excel file. And it's going to open it up. And so a couple housekeeping things on this so it doesn't mess up at what we do. The first 4 rows we need to highlight, right click and delete. We're going to hit Control N. And this last row here, highlight, right click, delete. Control Home. And we're back to the beginning again. So this has the market rate minus the risk-free rate, the SMB, the HML, and the risk-free rate here. Okay, so the small minus big, the high minus low, the risk-free is what we need. However, this is not in a proper formatted date. So what we need to do is we need to change this to the proper format. So we're going to highlight column A. We are going to go to Data, Text to Column, where it says delimited. We need to keep that. Next. All of those are fine. Just make sure it's only the tab that's checked, nothing else. Hit Next. Then we're going to go to Date. And we're going to select YMD, because it's in a year, month, day format. It's got 1926, July 1st. So now once we hit Finish, it's going to populate that into the correct format that we need here. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sort it to have the newest date on top. So we're going to highlight all those rows, make sure you're in the Data tab, and select newest to oldest, and there we go. Now we do not need September's in here, so we can highlight those rows and we can right click and delete. So now we have August 30th, 2019, and now we need to go all the way down to 1995, May 1st, 1995, because that's our date range. So what I did is I selected the first 3, or the first row here, all of those, all of the values. I hit select, or I'm sorry, Control. Come on. Hit Control, and it didn't do it. Never mind. I messed that up. So once again, highlight, Control Shift, and then I did the down arrow, but that took me all the way down. So then what I did is I continue hitting with Shift, press the up arrow until I got to 1995. I don't remember if there's a easier way to do this. Oh yeah, you can hit the Shift and hit the page up button. That's a little bit faster. Or if you know something better, you can use that. It's just a lot of data to go through, unfortunately. In the 50s. Okay. Almost there. 80s. All right, here we go. We're in the 90s. So now we need to, oh, I went too far. So I'm just hitting the Shift and the down, page down button. This entire time I'm not lifting my finger off the Shift button, because if you do, then you lose everything that you've highlighted so far. All right, so we're almost there. Went a little too far. Okay, now I'm hitting the Shift and the down arrow key until I got there. Okay, so now what you want to do is hit Control C to copy. Go back to our original workbook. We're going to select column D, row A, and Control V. So now all of that. Oh, you know what? I forgot the headers. I'll copy the headers later. So column D, row 2, Control V. Let me go grab those headers. So I'm going to go back over here, Control Home, and highlight and copy those headers. Okay. So now I have the date, market minus risk-free rate, the small minus big, high minus low, and the risk-free. Okay. We don't need the date a second time. So I'm going to highlight the D, column D, and I'm going to right click and delete. All right. Now we're going to go back into the internet and we're going to select the momentum factors for our fourth factor. I like to get all my data sorted and then I run the regression. Okay, so I'm selecting the internet. Now we're still in the Kenneth French library. We're going to keep scrolling down until we find the momentum, which is under source involving prior returns. Momentum factor daily. So once again, hit that CSV. We're going to do the same thing so we just did with the 3 factors. Double click on that Excel file. We're going to highlight all of these because we don't need any of those. And all those rows. So rows 1 through 13, right click and delete. I hit Control and End. I'm going to right click and delete that row so it doesn't mess me up. Control and Home. Okay. So once again, we need to change the format of that date. Select column A, data, text to columns. Make sure delimited is selected. Next. Make sure tab is the only one selected. Next. Select date and select the YMD, so year, month, day, and hit finish. We're going to open that up and there we go. Now we want to sort it to newest to oldest. Select columns A and B. Select the sort newest to oldest button and there we go. Now again, we don't need any of September's factors. So I'm going to highlight those, right click and delete. Now we need to copy the first row down to May, what am I doing here? Down to May 1st of 1995. I don't know why it's taking forever. Okay, so I'm just shifting and hitting that page down button again to make sure everything stays highlighted. Oh, I went a little too far, whole year too far. So here we go. Control C. And you can copy, you can highlight and copy however is easiest for you. Go back into original Excel worksheet. Go into column H, row 1, Control C, or I'm sorry, not Control C. Now I gotta go back and hit Control C on the original one. All right, so you have it copied. You're going to column H, row 1, Control V, and there you go. You've got your momentum factor. Again, we don't need that date, so we're going to highlight column H, right click, and delete. There we go. All right, so now we have all of our data ready to go for us to run a regression. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is you need to make sure that you have this data analysis in the data tab. If you don't, I can show you how to do it on the Microsoft 360 or 365. If you have an older version or newer version, you might want to look that up because I'm not 100% sure it's the same. So to do this, you're going to go over to File, go down to Options, go down to Add-ins, and then you'll have my analysis tool pack is up here because I've got it activated. But if you don't have it active, it's going to be under your inactive application add-ins. So what you want to do is you want to select it, and then in Microsoft 365, you have to select the Go where it says Manage Excel Add-ins. The one that he was showing on his video, he just selected the OK. But that never worked for me. I had to go to Go here under Manage Excel Add-ins, Go, and then make sure the Analysis Tool Pack is checked here, and then select OK. And then it's going to put it up here in the Data tab for you. All right, so now we know that CAPM, the first one that we're going to do, CAPM is going to be, we know that it's risk-free rate plus the beta of the market minus risk-free rate, right? Okay. I believe that's what it says. Yes, risk-free rate plus the beta of the market minus risk-free rate. So all of these here is the beta, okay? In his video, he used this as a return for the RFR, I believe, because that's what I've done, and it's worked just fine for me every single time. This is CAPM. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to select the data analysis. Okay, it's going to take a minute to pop it up. We're going to scroll down to regression. Press OK. So input Y range. In his video, he said the Y range is your return, which is this column here. You're going to select from the header. You want to make sure that header is in there, because when it runs the regression, if it doesn't have that header, it's going to put this value here as the first, as the label of it, and we don't need that. So we need to select the header. And what I did is I did Control, Shift, and the down button, and that copies everything. Okay. Now this is where I said that we're not going to use this very last line here, because we don't have a value there, so we can't use it. It's going to mess up our regression if we use it. So what we need to do over here in the input Y range, we need that very last number, that 8 or that 9, we need to select it and change it to 8, the value just before it. Okay, the input X range is going to be the market minus risk-free rate, right? So we're going to select that, that box there. We're going to go back to the beginning again, so back to home. This market minus risk-free, again, make sure you are selecting that column, okay, or that header. Control Shift down. Again, we need to change that last number to the number before it, so 6128. We want to make sure we've got the labels, and we want to make sure that the new worksheet is selected, okay? So once you have that done, you're going to hit OK. This is the regression for CAPM. So I'm going to highlight all of those columns. I'm just going to put my crosshairs in between one of the columns, double click so we can see it all. So this is showing the R-square value, the adjusted R-square value, the standard error, the observation. This is the regression here. The significance right now is 0. Got the residual. And then we have the intercept here, okay? So we have the coefficients, we got the standard error, we got the t-stat, the p-value for the intercept, and the market risk-free, okay? So we've got that. And this is the CAPM. I'm going to change that down here to CAPM, okay? So we got that. Now we're going to go back to our original page. And now we're going to do the 3-factor. We're going to do the same thing, except we know that the 3-factor is the risk-free rate plus the, grab my notes again here. So 3 factors, risk-free rate plus the beta of the market minus risk-free rate plus the beta of the high minus low, and then the beta of the small minus big. Okay, so that's the 3 factor. So we know we're going to use this one, and this one, right? Okay, so let's go through the data analysis again. We're going to make sure regression is selected, hit OK. Y value is going to be the same. We keep that as the return. The input X range is different. So we're going to highlight that and get rid of that. So now what we need to do is select columns D, E, and F. Okay? Do all the way to the bottom, but then we're also going to change that last number to the line before it. Make sure the labels are done. New worksheet, and hit OK. Now, this is our 3-factor. Okay, so we got our coefficients and all of our information down here. We're going to change this to 3-factor. You can change it just by double-clicking on that tab. And then, so now you have your summary output for the regression of the 3-factor. Now, the 4th factor, what do you guess we're going to do? We are going to do 4-factor. So it's a risk-free rate plus the beta of the market minus risk-free rate, plus the beta of the HML, plus the beta of the SMB, and plus the beta of momentum. So the 4 factors here. So we're going to do the same thing. Data analysis, regression, okay. Y input range is still the return, okay. X input range, so we're going to clear that out. We need to do columns D, E, F. I hit the control button and select the H, okay. And then I also, while holding control, I select shift and the down arrow. And it didn't do it. Hold on, give me one moment. Oh, I remember what I had to do. I had to take out, okay, hold on, cancel. Let me cancel that real quick. I had to move this over because it wasn't doing it when I was, when I did it earlier. So all I did was I put my crosshairs, moved it over here, and then I'm going to take out G. So then they're all together. Okay, so data analysis, regression, okay. Y is fine. We're going to select the input X range. D, E, F, G. Control shift down arrow. Going to change that last number to an 8. Labels is selected. New worksheet is selected. Hit OK. And then here is our 4-factor model. Okay, so here's the regressions for all 3 of them. So we've got our data information here on this last page. We have our CAPM regression. We have our 3-factor regression. And we have our 4-factor regression. And that's how you do the regression models.